A man leaves an original Picasso on a train, and when he goes to retrieve it, guess what? He can't find it. This is the Focus Group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller, Bueller, Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the Focus Group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Welcome to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Tim Bennett. Find us here every Wednesday on Facebook and YouTube Live from 1 to 2, and download our 20-minute podcast called Unbuttoned every Tuesday. That's where Tim and I get a little bit political, as you like to say. I'm a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll.
A little bit of Memphis and Nashville, a little bit of Motown.
Not to go down the side road on that one, but that was our favorite show in Vegas.
That was.
Johnny and Marie in Vegas are true performers, and man, they really kicked out a show.
They know how to entertain.
So focusgroupradio.com is where you could find out all about me and Tim, and that's where all the platforms are located as well. In fact, all our media is there. You could actually just go there and watch the show or listen to the show. But if you're on SoundCloud or Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of the other stuff, you might want to hook in through there. And you could also see our partners there as well.
Speaking of Vegas, did you ever see that? So I posted it. Remember we had Carrot Top on the show?
I do.
Did you see that video I posted to our Facebook page?
And wasn't it like insanely...
If you go back about 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe, look at our Focus Group Radio Facebook page. And Carrot Top is doing a little bit of a dance.
With a pair of shorts on.
With a pair of shorts on.
But no underwear.
Impressive. I'll just say that. Very impressive.
You know, the only part about that particular thing that I thought was disingenuous is at the end when he realized. Pretended that, oh my God, the camera's catching me and it's flopping around.
Right. I mean, if you had a bottle bouncing around between your legs, you'd know it.
Didn't you say that got like a ton of hits?
Oh my God, it was our biggest video of the week.
It's like Cat on a Roomba. Ding, 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 ding.
You know that sex sells.
Sex always sells, yeah.
You got that right.
All right, so we are in the second week of March, and we're getting ready. Don't forget, you got to turn your clocks ahead, right? We lose an hour. Spring ahead. We lose an hour on the weekend. I'm kind of pissed about this because we're in real time right now. This is real time.
Oh, this is real time?
Fall back means fall back on the normal clock. Spring ahead is to go into daylight savings time. So
you don't like it?
Screws up my sleeping patterns, but I'm happier for the longer days. But I've noticed them getting longer anyway already.
It feels like we just fell back.
Is that you know, Tim, I got to tell you, it was on my mind when I saw that thing pop up on the news. And they put the little clock on the graphic for the day. And I just stared at it. I thought, didn't we just turn them back? I really did feel like what you just said. And then I thought, oh my God, this is what our parents, I used to laugh at my parents. Time flies, things are flying by. As a kid, right? I guess our perception.
I thought summer vacation was years. It was 2 months.
It's 8 weeks.
I mean, when you think about it, we thought, I had to get all new clothes.
I could change my life.
Why your mother went crazy.
I remember as a kid, my God, you could change your life. I remember one summer I had my heart set on getting riflery, archery, and I forget, on canoeing, merit badges at camp. And then I read X number of books. And, you know, like, think about it, right?
Lots to do.
Lots to do. Get badges for my sash. Hey, we want to thank the boys in the booth. We got Garrett on audio, and we have John on video. Thank you, guys. Good to see you.
They're both on brand again.
You're on brand today. You're very good branding, yes. And I love the new cams, by the way. You guys look good. You're telegenic.
Thank you. You too.
You could take. I think we should do what Garrett suggested one day. Garrett is you, John is me. I'll be in the booth. You can play like you're pushing buttons.
I can play. I'll mess it up. I can't. I'm not good at the buttons.
All right. I'm going to start off banter with something that disturbed me this weekend. I don't want to spend too much time on it. This past weekend? It was CPAC down in Maryland. Oh. And you and I have talked about this already, but there was a moment when President Trump, and I don't want to knock Trump or I don't want to do any of that stuff because that's not what we do here, but there was a moment when Trump was on stage and he said John McCain is dead, and he got a standing ovation. Now, I've got that right? Yeah. I was shocked. I was, and saddened actually, because, hey, I might not have agreed with John McCain's positions, but I always loved watching him on the talk shows, and I thought he was a great speaker. He's a great man. He devoted his life to service, POW, a veteran. great family, but someone who really loved America. How could you, in good conscience, stand and applaud that line?
It's disgusting, and I've said this to you. I was raised, I would say raised Republican, but I grew up in a Republican town in Connecticut.
Same here. Yeah.
Republicans, in a sense, very different than what we see today. I voted for Republicans. I usually split my ticket and vote for who I think the best person is.
Our youth was, we were told by our parents, fiscally conservative, socially liberal.
I will not, and what happened at CPAC, coupled with the ridiculous way the Republicans were so hypocritical at the Cohen hearings, I will not forgive the Republicans for a long time. I will not vote for a Republican. I don't care who it is for a long time, because I think they're complicit in all this nonsense that's going on, and a lot of the race baiting and the division in the country. It's disgusting.
Well,
and CPAC, it just brings it all to light. It's disgusting.
Exactly.
Anybody
right.
who supports it and acts like that's disgusting.
So
they're not American. It's un-American.
All right, I wouldn't go. Well, yeah, that's your. Yeah,
it's un-American.
Right. It's un-American. I went to a different place with this, and I instantly remembered a scene from the movie Bonfire of the Vanities. Don't necessarily watch it. A lot of people hated it. I liked it. It's kind of a fable. I thought it had a great cast. But
is there a movie you didn't like?
There are a couple. But there's a scene at the end of the movie where I think it's Morgan Freeman is playing a judge, and he gives a lecture to the courtroom on something that we all know, on the word decency. And that's what I did not see present in any of this stuff, decency. So, Garrett, do you have that queued up here? So here's a little, it's like about a minute. It's this little decency thing.
I'll tell you what justice is. Justice is the law. And the law is man's feeble attempt to set down the principles of decency. Decency. And decency is not a deal. It isn't an angle or a contract or a hustle. Decency is what your grandmother taught you. It's in your bones. Now you go home. Go home and be decent people.
To be decent people. I agree with that speech. We know how to be decent. You don't stand up and do a standing ovation for a hero
John
of the
McCain,
country.
as you said, regardless of what you feel, how his ideas about running the country may have been different than what you thought.
But you could debate it.
But right, and be decent about it. And he was a true patriot, a true American, tortured to the point where he couldn't move his arms.
Yeah.
And
the rest of his life.
And it was smart enough to realize that you might not agree. We all have problems with some issue revolved around Obamacare, but it was a step in the right direction for the Affordable Care Act. Rather than fixing it, which is what everybody said should be done, Democrats and Republicans.
Fix it. Someone
comes in, the new administration are going to get rid of it, and John McCain stood his ground and said no. And I think
famous thumbs down.
And ever since then,
yeah,
Trump has been on the bandwagon, and he's, he went through his best of. It was Crooked Hillary.
Oh yeah, it was the whole
lock her up. Again, Flynn, who's going to be locked up.
Yes,
he started leading that charge. That's why I don't understand the hypocrisy of the Trump supporters. Do you not go home at night or have somebody look at you or your neighbors say, you know what, you're disgusting?
Well, that's why I thought of this quote or that scene in the movie, because it took the judge at the end of this movie to remind everybody that you have to be decent to one another, because you're in this. Yeah, anyway.
You don't have to like one another, but you have to. It's what Kelly MacDonald used to tell us. If you work with somebody, you don't have to like them and be their best friends, but you do have to figure out how to work together
and get along and make things
civil.
And move forward. So, sorry, I'm getting off the soapbox, and instead I'm going to say, what caught your eye, Mr.
What
Bennett?
caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
So this one, it probably should have been a shop talk, because it probably could go a lot longer. So Jay in Ohio and Marianne in Chicago both turned me on to both of these stories. I think Jay sent it to both of us.
He sent,
one about the Holiday Inn. And then Marianne had sent me one in Chicago about this woman who retired on a cruise ship. So there's two different stories. So everybody knows that to go into a nursing home or when retirement comes, it could be quite expensive.
Per day costs.
Per day costs. Yeah. So there's this one woman, she's now going on her 9th year. She lives on a Crystal cruise ship. So she's from Miami. She's from the Florida area. And she and her husband made a lot of money in real estate in the 60s. And when he was dying, he said to her, keep cruising. So she decided, she sold her big house in Fort Lauderdale and booked herself on this cruise. And she's now been on it for 9 years. She's been all over the world. She doesn't even get off the boat anymore. She's been most places unless it's Turkey. She likes the bazaars. But
seriously, that's so cool.
She picked the Crystal Cruise Lines Crystal Cruises because they have a host ambassador program. And do you know what a host ambassador program is? So they have men that are just hired to dance with single ladies or ladies whose husbands don't want to dance with them.
Host ambassador.
So she dances. Okay. She has 3 different. She dances 3 times a day. They said her normal day. She gets up. She has breakfast when she wants, and she has lunch followed by a nap. She'll get her hair and nails done at the spa. She'll attend the dancing venues throughout the day and trip the light fantastic. She takes a daily dance lesson at 1:30, followed by 5:15 in the Palm Court with a band, and then there's dancing from 7:45 till midnight in the court. And when she's not doing that, she's got a little area where she does needlepoint. They put her in she's eaten at the same table now for the last 9 years.
My God.
She says it's great. The 650 crew members look after her. She did gain a little weight. So she said that she now orders only half meals, and she's real careful about what she eats.
Well, she could walk around the decks, and she could do that a little more.
She didn't get a big room, but she has a regular stateroom, and they've outfitted it for her. They brought in 5 extra clothes racks. She has 150 pairs of earrings, and they've got. They said when the maid comes to clean her room, people look in and think it's a bazaar. They want to come in and shop, but she's got it all kitted out with her stuff. And
did they talk about the cost of this at all?
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you.
So she says she pays ahead. She pays every 6 months in order to get the biggest discount. So if she was to do this without paying ahead in advance, what do you think it would cost a year to be on the cruise ship for a full year?
I'm going to put it somewhere around 40-some thousand.
306,000.
What? 306,000?
The whole year.
Oh, boy, my math was really bad there.
So she does it for about 164,000 a year. But she said she's in her 90s now. She's very wealthy. And she said, you know what? She enjoys herself. She goes, the only thing I don't like is I usually don't know what day it is.
Yeah, if that's the least of her problems.
She keeps in contact. She hears from her family every day. Whenever she docks back in Miami, they come to see her. She sees them about 5 times a year when they dock. The ship.
So she doesn't have a residence off the ship?
She's got a laptop, cell phone. Kids call her, grandchildren call her. Family calls her.
Can I tell you that I'm a little bit envious of this? She probably got rid of all stuff that she doesn't need. She only has her clothing and jewelry and her laptop and her phone. How liberating! And in all honesty, did you say the number for pre-booking was $160,000 a year?
164, yeah, for the year.
That could be a nursing home bill.
It could be. But all meals are covered. Her drinks, she's traveling, she's having a great time. She's seen the world. There's 2 other women that also are doing the same thing on the boat. So there's 3 of them that are on there.
So the only question I would have revolves around banking. So there's some point she has to get off the ship and either talk to a bank. There has to be a way for her to move funds around. So she
prepays. Her laptop, probably.
She prepays for the ship. But she still has to get checks delivered. If she's getting Social Security or something, it has to come from somewhere.
Maybe it goes direct deposit.
But look at it this way. Let's say you had, I don't know, $2 million in retirement savings and you were collecting Social Security and you're not intent on leaving it to somebody, which I kind of think is crazy anyway. Spend it down.
She doesn't have to cut a lawn. She doesn't have to worry about maintenance at a house.
No.
Done. So this led into the article that Jay sent us that says, why would you want to retire in a nursing home when you can live in a hotel cheaper? So there's this one guy, and they talked about Priceline. They said, back in the day when Priceline started in the 2000s, you can get a really decent room for $30 or $40 in San Francisco because they were trying to do all this online stuff, which included housekeeping, the club lounge, usually breakfast and a lunch and a happy hour. But so there's this one guy, he's booked himself into the Holiday Inn. He secured a rate for $60. So he gets $60 for the whole year. It's actually $59 and change, $59.23
per day.
$59.23. He did this after he went to look at a nursing home, and the nursing home was $188 a day. And they said, the nursing home, they often smell badly. They treat you like a patient instead of a customer. You have to share a room.
Yep.
The food's bland. There's not much to do. He says here, He gets breakfast included and lunch usually. There's a happy hour. There's a swimming pool. There's a bus line. He can go anywhere he wants. He can take the bus out to the airport for free and go get a bite to eat there, he said, if he wants a change of scenery. Family loves to come visit. They use the pool. They take a mini vacation. He says, my room's clean every day. I got room service. If the bulb burns out, they put a new bulb in for free. He said it's a hell of a lot cheaper. So he spends $21,900 a year on hotel versus $68,500, which you would have at a nursing home. And they talked to a nurse, and she said she thinks it's the greatest thing, and she's worked in nursing homes for 40 years, and she said she's looking into it herself because she says nursing homes can be so depressing. And somebody checks on you every day. You don't have to worry about...
So... I
think it's a pretty cool thing.
So the math really, really bears this out. So he does the hotel. Let's round the numbers. He does it for $20,000 a year, right?
$21,900, and nursing home would be $68,500. So he's saving $40,000 a year,
which allows him to do 2 more. So 1 year of the nursing home would actually be 3 years of the hotel.
And he said the great thing is if he decides he wants to go to another hotel, so this rate is locked in. So say he wants to go to Hawaii. He'll buy a plane ticket and he still gets the $60. He's part of the elite program. He gets miles or gets
Does
points.
he have to like pack up his room?
I suppose so. But what do you have?
So maybe he's another like the woman on the cruise ship. Maybe he's got his life down to just the stuff hanging in the closet.
Yep. He said it leaves me $128 a day to do what I want to do. Whether I save it, I want to go to the movies.
Which, by the way, is actually,
said they provide free shampoo, free soap. Garrett doesn't care about that. But he's a spa, swimming pool, workout room, gets treated like a customer. And I thought it was fantastic. So thanks to Jay and Marianne for turning us on to this. I think it's a great
I remember
thing.
when Jay sent the article on the Holiday Inn thing. The cruise ship one intrigues me as well. I got to tell you, that's an interesting...
Well, the room's cleaned every day, your bedding, your linens. I mean, if you're in a nice enough hotel, like I was thinking about this.
I'm assuming that let's say he had a partner, a wife,
right,
or a partner. I'm assuming that rate is the room rate, and which means there could be two people in there.
Collect your Social Security.
Now you're talking about an enormous amount of savings.
Hey, you and I, when we went out, we went to that Gay Y weekend in Sonoma. That was the Best Western.
Yeah, it was fine.
It was the breakfast was fantastic. It was a great part of the country. I thought to myself, you know what? I've seen people go into nursing homes. Our friend Tim's dad. It was depressing. You have to share a room with somebody. We all know what a nursing home's like, right? And this guy says, something happens to me, call an ambulance.
I got firsthand when my mom had her back surgery, the rehab facility was part of a nursing home. And, she was in there for like 3 weeks, and I go up to visit her one day. She's like, honey, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I'm like, well, Mom, you're doing rehab. You're not. No. The next step. It was actually a real kind of...
Now, I suppose if you need care,
and yes,
it's a whole different thing.
And many of these...
If you just wanted to retire and sell your home
and my God, the math really holds up because there's no property tax, house insurance.
You don't got to buy a light bulb. You don't have to buy linens. You don't have to buy anything, really. Now, I'd want a place like a Homewood Suites or something where I could have a little kitchenette. I don't want to be in there in a shitty little room.
I want a Homewoods. Here you are upgrading the experience already, right?
But you'd want a little kitchen.
Staybridge. I would like to make my own little egg omelets or something for dinner at night. But yeah,
But you and I have done, if you got online, I'm sure you can make a deal. It could be a heck of a lot cheaper than $188 a day, which is what you're going to get at a nursing home.
I tell you, my mind is racing with this possibility. I like this. Well,
anyway, that's
what caught my eye is something I want to surprise Tim with. So many times on the show, we talk about the elusive Nielsen ratings.
Uh-oh.
Who is a Nielsen householder family? Well, guess what I got in the mail?
No, you did not. Wow, they must really be scraping. How are you going to be a Nielsen family? You got rid of all your cable, didn't you?
No, we have cable, but, there's a letter here. It says, hello. It's to TV, and it's addressed to the TV viewer of my address.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Steven, and I'm a Nielsen TV ratings representative who works in your area. I've stopped by to introduce myself, but have been unable to reach you. That's because there's, you can't just stop by. At Nielsen, we're interested in learning about what people like you watch on television. We partner with people across the U.S., blah, blah, blah. I understand that door-to-door contact in your area is not possible, and at Nielsen, we completely respect and honor your community's privacy policies. there's no privacy policies. The door's locked. I am writing to you because I don't want you to miss the opportunity to represent your community and let your voice be heard. So if I want to, I could actually call Stephen, and that's not his real, I'm sure his...
And they come over and you can put a box in. You got to do it.
That or a diary or something. But I was wondering if you thought I should do it.
Yes. Why wouldn't you? And watch the focus group on YouTube and talk about it.
Who is Neil? So, Tim, at long last...
I can't believe that. They must have heard it on the show.
At long last, Nielsen. Have a look.
That's funny. Do they pay you to do this?
That I do not know. I think
they must have to.
There's some honorarium that probably comes with you. Recognize his signature?
Steve Hodge.
Steve Hodge. I'm sure that's not his real name. Why I'm worried about his real name is anybody's guess. And
did you go look and review the brochure?
I went online, yeah. And
what did you find out?
Well, it basically talked about... I'm not sure I would actually qualify, to be honest with you. They're looking for some heavy TV viewing households, and we're not exactly heavy. And all the Nielsen rating, all our stuff would show Turner Classic Movies.
You're already in trouble, John. Did you read the disclaimer?
What did it say?
It says, confidentiality is very important to our research. We ask that you do not discuss your role in Nielsen research with people outside of the household, including people on social media, friends at work, or websites such as Facebook or Twitter. So you already got an F.
They don't know. They'd have to be watching the show.
You're disqualified.
They'd have to be watching the show. We're going to... I'll
think that's how they got a hold of you, though. Oldsmar, Florida is where they're based. That's got to be a cheap rent. Are they in a strip mall?
There's a Nielsen up here in New York.
Oldsmar.
I know, I see that is, but...
it's got to be in a strip mall.
Gosh darn, you read the disclaimer, now I'm out. But anyway, all right.
Well, though, I think you should do it. Have Stephen come over.
I should. And I should show him the clip.
It'd be crazy if you don't.
Well, we have to know. We have to know, right? I have one little small thing that caught my eye, and it's very brief. It's basically a Twitter picture. And the headline reads, Mom on 10-hour flight hands out 200 bags of candy earplugs in case baby cries. A mother on a flight from Seoul to San Francisco was reportedly so worried that her 4-month-old child would disrupt other passengers, she handed out peace offerings in advance of any inconvenience. And so she gave out a bag of like little Korean candies and earplugs and stuff. And there was a note. And the note said, today I'm going to the U.S. with my mom and grandma to see my aunt. I'm a little bit nervous and scared because it's my first flight, which means that I may cry or make too much noise. I will try to go quietly, though. I can't make any promises. Please excuse me.
So enjoy this bag of trout candy and some seaweed.
Well, it's the thought that counts.
I like Asian candy.
So the guy that was on this flight that got the bag said he described the gesture as very touching. He goes, you know how kids could be very unexpected. And he said as a further note, despite the advanced warning, there was not a peep out of the baby for the entire flight. So she hands out all this stuff, and then the baby's super well behaved.
Bags? Why don't you just sit in first class?
Well, you know, that's a lot of labor to go into making those bags, right?
I'd have just sat in first class. And nobody cares, right?
So there you go. There you go. That's what caught my eye.
Oh, cool. Cool. Business birthday today.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
Happy 70th birthday, Maxine Clark. Maxine Clark is 70 today, March 6th. She was born in 1949 in Coral Gables, Florida. She's founder of Build-A-Bear Workshop. Remember being a Build-A-Bear in the malls?
That's who founded it? Wow. Yep. Build-A-Bear's still around.
An American retailer that sells customizable teddy bears and other stuffed animals. She opened it in 1997.
Who do you think she looks a little bit like?
You know, she does look like that Valerie Jarrett.
Yes,
Valerie Jarrett from the Obama administration. I thought so, too. So she went to the University of Georgia. She graduated in 1971 with a degree in journalism. And then she started working for the May stores, or the May companies out of Hex, which is like a Macy's or a Dayton's or something. And then she became president of Payless Shoes for about 4 years. And she left there in 1996 and opened up Build-A-Bear in 1997. There's over 400 stores now around the country. She got out of the business and around 2013.
She's no longer at
She's no longer there.
So she was founder.
Right. She built it up to 400 stores. She stepped down as chief executive officer to apply her entrepreneurial skills to her passion for improving K-12 education and also empowering women, minority women in particular, and entrepreneurs. And she's doing an awful lot of philanthropy in those areas. But I thought it was really cool because here's somebody, she had a great idea about this. She said she learned a lot when she was working within the department stores about merchandising and things that parents may be looking for, and she had this idea about these bears because they were just so sort of all the same. I mean, when you think about it now,
row after row, they're all just teddy bears.
So when you think about it now, what a smart idea! Like, why didn't we think of it?
What a great.
And she sits on the board now of Foot Locker in Gymboree, and she's got all kinds of awards about women in business, and been recognized as one of the top retailers of the last century. For her work.
By the way, her board affiliations are in great alignment with what she's done, right?
Yep.
That's one of those rare ones where you're like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. They would have her on the board.
Yeah, so she was one of the 25 most influential women in retail, Ernst & Young, Small Business Association investments, so forth and so on. But she has this foundation she started, and she helps women who want to go into business for themselves. So she's big about women in philanthropy. So we very rarely get women for our business birthday. So when this one popped up, I was excited. So happy birthday, Maxine Clark.
That's a great business birthday. We've had a lot. You've had a string of good ones lately, and ones that, given the number of years we've been doing the show,
9 years,
I have not seen.
I try not to overlap because there were 3 others. I think it was the founder of Toyota was today, which we've done before. Yeah. Somebody from another car brand, and there was something.
You've done
else.
Me a couple times, but that's,
you always get yours. That's a special one.
You always get yours.
You're like Signorelli.
It's true. It's true. All right, as many of you know, Deep Discount is a friend and partner of ours here on the Focus Group. Go to focusgroupradio.com and look for the shark logo, aptly called Sharky, Arr, and click on the logo and start your shopping experience. It's a site-wide Shark Arr Madness sale going on this month at Deep Discount, which means everything's on sale, from books, CDs, DVDs, Blu-ray, toys, anything that's on the site. As it says here, save on tens of thousands of items. I couldn't agree more. So this is a fun time for us because we get to go all different places on the site, and I'm always surprised. Well, it doesn't matter if it's a sale or not. I'm always surprised what you pick, and the title you picked to go with, I would have. Anyway, you go ahead. Tell us what you picked.
I picked the Challenger Disaster, which was just released last month on February in 2019, and stars Dean Cain and Glenn Morshower. And it's about the 1986 explosion of the Challenger space shuttle. And I did it a little bit self-servingly because I think we all remember where we were at the time. But for me, I think I've told you this story before. I worked for LTV Steel Company, which provided the steel for the O-rings and the rocket boosters from the aerospace division. And I was in Philadelphia at a regional office. I sold a lot of armaments and high fragmentation metal to the military. And it was my very first day on the road as a district manager. And one of my accounts was SKF Aerospace. And I remember I got this panic on my answering machine then because we didn't have
That's right.
That I had to get to the Philadelphia airport immediately and pick up these engineers that needed to get to SKF Aerospace, and that was my account, which I didn't know because I had just first week on the road, and get them up to this meeting because of the space shuttle explosion.
Wow.
Picked these guys up at the airport, and I thought I knew where I was going.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one, yeah.
And I'm in Philadelphia, and I pull off, and I park the car, double park, right downtown. Big sign in the building, SKF, and I go in there, and the nice woman is at the counter. I said, I've got the engineers here from LTV about the space shuttle stuff. And she looks at me very kind of oddly, and I said, is this SKF Aerospace? And she just kind of closes her eyes, and she looks over at the little half glass, and she said, we're SmithKline French Pharmaceuticals. And I was like, oh, my God.
How far away were you from the...
Well, she takes out the phone book. And these guys were right out of Central Casting. Man, they had the pocket protectors, they had the glasses, they had calculators out. I mean, they were all frazzled. And I had these guys in the front and back seat of the car. And she finds out where it is and shows me on a map, gets me a map. We were about 45 minutes to an hour away. They were going to be late for their meeting. And I come running out, panicked, obviously. And I said, oh, the meeting's at a different office. And one of the other guys just looks back and goes, yeah, I thought this was a little odd. Like, why would you be in downtown Philly at this aerospace thing? And I got him out there. So that's why I picked
The Challenger.
Because when I read the description, what does it say at the very end? The last part of the description is NASA made a business decision. He made a human decision. It was about one of the engineers had warned them that they thought these O-rings would fail because of the temperature. And so I thought it would be interesting for me to see that.
Well, it also just brings back clear as day I just remember the utter, like how crazy it was when it went up and then just nothing.
Well, and everybody just looked, right? You remember it on TV. You're like, I know something went wrong, but nobody's saying anything.
No, and that's
you knew it wasn't normal, right?
All right, so the movie that I picked this week for the site-wide Shark Madness sale is the movie Network on Blu-ray. It's $16.95 on sale at deep discount. It's the story of newscaster Howard Beale, whose famous message that he would have his audience shout out the window was, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore." Sidney Lumet's the director. Faye Dunaway is brilliant in this role. This is right after her Chinatown role, I think, and before Mommy Dearest. Yeah, that's one of the weird things about. But 3 of the performances won Oscars. Best Actress, Faye Dunaway.
Really?
Yeah. Best Actor, Peter Finch, is the newscaster Howard Beale. And William Holden won as well. Or Best Supporting Actress, Beatrice Straight. But William Holden's in it. And William Holden, by the way, do you remember him from Sunset Boulevard?
Yep.
So in this movie, he's a much older man now. And he aged in such a way that his face... I was watching a special... The reason I picked this is there was a special on TCM about the making of Network and how a lot of the stuff that the movie portrayed has basically come true. Talking heads, pontification... like an adoration of the television, not news. It's kind of not really. It's elevation of something that's kind of weird. And they said that William Holden was the most interesting actor to watch because of the way he aged. His face, he could just move like his eyes a little bit or something. It's kind of like Marlon Brando in The Godfather. Just these very slight things just telegraphed all the emotion he was.
There's certain, that's when you know somebody's a really good actor, when you could read their eyes and their face, and there's very few that could do that.
Anthony Hopkins, I'm thinking of right off the bat. William Holden. I think of even like why am I spacing out on To Kill a Mockingbird? Gregory Peck. They're just the subtler the movement of their body, the more it telegraphed.
There's singers that can do that too. I think Bowie and Annie Lennox are probably 2 of the best at it. Annie Lennox, you think she's singing to you, no matter where you're sitting.
Where you are, yeah.
So that's a good pick.
So the release this week is a movie that Bob and I thoroughly enjoyed. You
saw this, right?
Yeah. Now I had a little Lauren over at Deep Discount had a little bone to pick with me on this one. She wasn't. She wanted to like it. She agreed with me that it was a great costumes. It was a well-done production, but she just couldn't hook into it. And I could see why myself.
It's the favorite.
It's the favorite on Blu-ray. And Olivia Colman won the Oscar for Best Actress, I believe, in this over the past Oscar ceremonies. She gave a wonderful speech, but she plays Queen Anne. The movie is not historically accurate, by the way. I mean, you'd walk out of the theater thinking you just saw something that had happened,
right.
But when you do the research, you realize that this is just the stage they set this on. But long story short, a woman does a lot to get back into a certain position, but at the end of the movie she realizes that everything she did to get there and the compromises that she had to make and probably the sellout of her soul, was it worth it? You'll be the judge, but if you get a chance to see it, I think you might enjoy it.
Well, I like it.
I don't know. I liked it, but I was surprised when Lauren didn't like it because we were usually pretty much into
You don't know the answer.
Stuff.
If you don't know, then I'm probably with Lauren. So, hey, head over to focusgroupradio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo. Save on tens of thousands of items for the site-wide Shark Madness sale. I picked the Challenger disaster about the 1986 disaster of the space shuttle. John picked Network on Blu-ray for $16.95. And the new release is the favorite. Let us know if you like it when you see it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have a couple of shop talks. So, whoa, right, Garrett? I forgot. John had point.
Thanks, Deep Discount.
I'm really bad with the cues lately. I don't know what's going on. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
I don't know what's going on.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Looks like when I booked here with no phone.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is the website where you can find out all about us and our show. We encourage you to also start downloading Unbuttoned, audio-only podcast available on Tuesdays. That's me and Tim, a little more off the cuff. We tackle 3 topics. It's usually under 20 minutes. Because we know how people look down their little podcast list and they'll say, I can do 18, but I don't want to do 21.5.
Commutable, right?
It's commutable.
That's what Mark tells us. Mark and Carl tell me it's commutable.
Commuter-friendly.
They can go from Annapolis to D.C. and listen.
Oh, I love those guys. And he's right. But then sometimes we had listeners who noticed when we had the show like at 45 minutes, someone did a very funny thing on YouTube. They said, I can only clean the living room and one bathroom.
Yeah, can't clean both bathrooms.
Can't clean the whole house if the show's shorter. I'm glad to know where the background soundtrack for that. As we teased at the top of the show, Tim found a cool article that came out of Germany, actually, and it's the headline reads, Man Leaves Original Picasso on Train. Now, you would think that it was a painting, but it's not. The Picasso, it's a vase. It's worth more than $11,000, and this guy, 76-year-old man, was traveling from Kassel in central Germany to the western city of Dusseldorf. Am I allowed to pronounce these? Dusseldorf. He had it in a shopping bag. Mid-journey, he left the vase on the train when he had to switch trains. Realizing his error immediately after the train pulled out, he contacted the conductors or somehow they got in touch with the train crew. Is it any surprise that they never found the bag? And on our little break, Tim said to me, this is my biggest fear in the world, is leaving something.
Leaving your bag or something. So if you're watching in the video, you can see what the vase looks like. I don't know. I'd have probably left it.
But not for $11,000.
I wouldn't know what it is. Do you? Is that what it is?
Yeah, see the eye and the... Yeah.
I thought it was a shoe. I was laughing when you saw a little sidebar here for a second, as I got irritated over the weekend. So you pronounced Dusseldorf, and you said Dusseldorf, but you didn't do it in a German accent, right? So, or if you said Paris, we're going to Paris. Would you say Paris? I get irritated with all of these newscasters now. And there's one in particular on Sirius XM radio, which I won't mention. Decides everything needs to be pronounced in Spanish. And they were talking about the shooting in Aurora, Illinois. It's Aurora, Illinois. It's not Arara. Arara. And then Arara. And the Beto. And doing all this nonsense. It's like, speak English. That's my high horse. So you're not saying...
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't go to NBC Evening News on the weekend.
They're all doing it.
On the weekends, the weekend anchor is Jose Diaz.
Yeah.
And every time he is given a Spanish name to say, he makes sure that it's...
Exactly. Welcome to the Evening News. And
then it switches back to this other English. So
it drives me crazy because you don't do it for French or for German, or for Chinese, or for for some reason they feel like they've got to over enunciate these things in Spanish. Now SNL's done skits about this for years. But it really floored me this weekend because I thought, first of all, then I even went to look to see where the origin of Aurora came from. It's Greek. So it's not even Spanish. Anyway.
All right. So to finish up the missing vase story, the vase.
What would you have done?
Well, the vase was made in '53. It's one of an owl series, worth $11,351. And what I would have done is what this guy did, which is panic. And then what can you do? I mean. An example,
John. I love the way you say that because that's not if you.
Well, but I would have done everything possible. I would have yelled at people or can I get the train?
What if your husband left his laptop on the train and then he's going to find you would lean into him?
That particular laptop's 7 years old, and I'd say good riddance. It still has a CD-ROM drive in the damn thing.
You would lean into him though. How could you be so irresponsible?
I would. I probably would. You're right.
Or if somebody asked you, Tim, can you please take because you have a very expensive high performance bicycle. Can you please take this gearing, what would you call it, gear set or something?
Yeah.
Can you please bring this with you on the train? I want to put it on my bike. And then they're heading up to Hudson and they left it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be so understanding.
You know what would be worse is if you had the bike. The other day I was in the spring when I was pulling into the garage. I always stop before we park the car because the bike's on top. And the guy, the attendant said to me one day, "You're very smart." He goes, never forget that thing's up there. I said, what? He said, one day a guy pulls in with a really expensive bike, whoosh, right in, the roof rack ripped off the front, the windshield popped out and cracked, the roof bent. He said the bike was in multiple pieces. I said, he goes, well, he's coming in at like 15 miles, whatever, not fast, but enough for that thing to go boom. And when he described the windshield popping out because of the force of the rack,
ripped it all off.
Yeah. So I bought myself a watch years and years ago as a treat for getting rid of a bad habit. And one day I left it in the locker of the gym. I had it sitting there. I went to the counter to get a Q-tip or something. I came back, the watch was gone. I went to the front desk. I raised Cain. And finally the manager just goes, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
He said, this happens all the time. And I said, well, that's really horrible because that's, it's my new watch.
I had, when I got right out of college, because I was on the road, I mentioned LTV Steel, I went out and I bought a very expensive pair of sunglasses, expensive even in this day and age.
Okay.
They were $300 sunglasses because I was on the road all the time. And they were these kind of designer things. And I was in a Strawbridge and Clothier looking at $12, $8 sunglasses, cheap little crappy things. Just, let me try them on, taking off. And then walked away from the counter, forgetting my designer sunglasses until it was time to go outside. I'm like, oh my God, it's bright. Where are my sunglasses? So I go running back in, same sort of thing. They're gone. And I said, well, somebody should have found them. I hope. And I remember the lady go, oh, I'm sure someone found them. I said, well, I thought someone might have turned them in. She said the same thing. What do you want me to do?
No.
I'm looking through all the racks. Did somebody put them on? Somebody was like, oh my God.
I think when people pick up stuff like that, they know what it is, right? On a Lost and Found story, we had our friends Alex and Tyler up to the house in the fall, and we were going to go to Williamstown to the Clark to see some of they have a new expanded gallery, and it's beautiful. It was just an excuse to go on a nice drive, and the guys wanted to get coffee at this place not far from us called the Bartlett House, and we stop, we pick up coffee, we get in the car. We get to Williamstown, and Alex realizes that a little necklace, like a little pendant that he had that his mom had given him, was missing. And did the chain break or something? Or that was the thought, that maybe the chain had broken, and but Tyler very smartly thought, well, probably happened when you put your shirt on. It's probably laying on the floor of the guest house on the carpet or something. So that change. But the thing, when we lose things that we love or that we like or that are valuable, it's amazing how the whole day pivots. Like suddenly it's like, and so we had to retrace our steps. So we're driving back to our house, and we're going by the Bartlett House, and I said, I can pull in to the parking lot. Maybe no. I said, let's just pull in. We pull in. Alex opens the door. The first thing he sees laying on the ground? Oh. I should have bought a scratch-off lottery card, right? You're kidding me. Wow. We were all, and he was...
So you pulled into the same place?
We pulled almost the same spot. He gets out. It's laying right there on the pavement. Now, how weird is that would still be there, right?
Wow.
So, so this one, all of us have at one point or another lost something valuable to us, and it's just one of those...
Have you ever found anything and then you kept it?
No. You mean like a no. I can't say as I have, no. Not like a wallet or a watch.
Yeah, no, I found wallets and things and returned them, but I did find there was a wad of money once when I was a little kid. We went to a pizza place in Ridgefield, Connecticut. I still remember this. My dad brought this up the other day when I was home. And I thought I was a millionaire. It's like $7. But I remember it was all this wadded up money that was just sitting in the booth in the corner of the booth, and I was up against the window, and I was like, oh my God. And I remember, and I didn't say anything, and I put it in my pocket. I thought I was a millionaire, but it was $7. And so it obviously fell out of somebody's pocket, I guess, and we were in the car, and my mother, where'd you get that money from? I said, I found it in the booth. And I got lectured a little bit about it, but $7.
$7, yeah. That's better than the day that my parents asked me where my money was coming from. I'm buying model kits and all this other stuff.
You had a little cottage industry.
I was selling my homework. That was
smart.
Yeah. I would actually, all the kids that I knew that had paper routes, they wanted me to do their homework, and I would copy I would forge their handwriting, the whole bit. Payday was usually Friday, something like that.
Do you think your mom and dad
I found out
privately laughed about it?
Yes, they did. I found out years later that my mother was mortified until my dad said to her, Carol, he's going to be fine. He knows how to make a buck. She goes, but he's selling his intellect. He's selling his intellect. And my dad goes, well, what do you think people do for money? They sell their smarts, right? They never told me that, and my mom found out because I used to hide all the money in my Hardy Boy book collection.
What were you doing? Like spelling stuff or something, or what?
Math. It was math.
Math.
Math was.
I wouldn't pay you for math.
Well, grammar school and before it got to the high stuff like trigonometry.
You still can't do a tip.
I still can't do a tip.
How are the kids doing math?
Well, apparently the scam went unnoticed because their grades were average.
You had to make sure you didn't have the same one wrong on each page. Remember?
And then there was writing stuff, and I think it was Joey Collette was the...
What would you get paid, $1 or something?
Oh, we're talking like $2, $3, stuff like that. But, it added up after a while. And my mom was cleaning my bookcase one day, and she takes some of the books out, and money starts falling out of them. Because I wanted the bills to be crisp and pressed. So I'd put them in the books and mush them back in. So, what a crazy kid. I wanted the money to be...
How old were you?
Oh,
7, 8, 9?
Well, it was 7th grade, 8th grade,
Oh,
7th, 8th grade. And I got in trouble for it, and I shut it down right away. But then, of course, years later, as we were just talking about, my mom revealed that, no, they thought it was hysterical, and they thought it was very smart. So, all right, our next shop talk.
I wonder why they shut it down.
It's a darn good question, right? I mean,
what would you do if you had a kid and you found out they were doing that?
I'd probably do what my parents did.
Tell them no.
I'd say the public face would be, this is wrong, you shouldn't do this. But the private, behind closed doors, like, wow, we got to watch that kid. Something's going on there. So you found this next one, which I think is, if you didn't like Grace Slick before, you're going to certainly like her now. So the headline reads, Grace Slick licenses song to Chick-fil-A and gives proceeds to LGBT organizations. So she let Chick-fil-A use a Starship, their hit "Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now," which we all know. Nothing's gonna stop us now. So she could give but the money she's making from it, she gives to LGBTQ organizations because Chick-fil-A's founder, Dan Cathy, is a big supporter of anti-LGBT organizations, and I guess by extension, Chick-fil-A would be as well. Although there is
Sundays,
some,
and there's you remember the boycott with Chick-fil-A a couple years ago, and they still maintain their stance that they don't believe that in same-sex marriage, or they don't believe people of the same sex should marry, and they have their own foundation. I believe it's called the WIN Foundation.
That's correct. Yeah, WinShape,
and they've given millions to rally different states at the time before there was a federal. Before marriage was legal federally, they were lobbying various states with monies to make sure that we stayed a good Christian nation that followed the morals of a good Christian. So she said initially, F you when they wanted the money, and then she thought, you know what, here's an opportunity for me to license a song and call them out for their hypocrisy and then take all the royalties I'm going to get, and she's giving it to Lambda Legal, which helps fight for LGBTQ causes. What I think is interesting about this are a couple of things. I remember years ago, the B-52s talking about this. They wanted to use the song, I think it was Rome. Remember the song Rome? I think Pepsi wanted to use it. And they initially said no, and then they ended up doing it, and they donated the money. But for years, even Hollywood stars or celebrities, they would do commercials and things overseas. Yeah. They would never do anything in the U.S., but they would collect the royalties from stuff overseas. And so I remember seeing, and I think I've seen this commercial, and I've seen a few others lately, where I'm a little bit surprised that they've actually gone on and taken the money, because you very rarely will hear a popular song. I think more and more we hear stuff now that's being used in...
Well, to that point, I feel like my cultural past is being mined for commercials now.
Well, the 80s, right? I mean, it's 80s music
I'll see
everywhere.
something for I'm just picking a brand category to be ironic and funny, adult diapers. And they'll use like a song that we used to, tap kegs and dance to. I'm like, no, don't sell the product with this song here. But
no, there was I think Nissan for a long time did a lot of 80s music with car ads, but I thought good for her. I thought she put her money where her mouth was, and so you know what, I will take the money. Will you eat at Chick-fil-A? Do you boycott?
I have never been to a Chick-fil-A.
I think it's salty.
Yeah, there are some people who love that.
I have a lot of friends who love it, and I was watching,
chicken.
I think it was Morning Joe a couple of days ago, and they were talking about Chick-fil-A and how people love it. And we have some friends that like it too. I've never liked it because I never had much access to it. But when I realized they were so anti-LGBT, I just have no need to. There's so many other things if I wanted fast food, which is rare. It's the same with the Barilla pasta. I don't buy Barilla because of the stance that they had. Now,
that may have changed.
Same with Exxon gas. Remember Exxon? If there's an Exxon station and there's a Shell or there's something else, I'll go somewhere else.
I have not bought at Exxon
for a long time.
I can't remember the last time I put because of that. Because when they merged with Mobil had domestic partnership benefits and they recognized partners, and then Exxon insisted that be stripped out of the corporate because they were the larger company when they took over. Yeah, this Chick-fil-A, the owner. He has critiqued gay rights supporters who have the audacity to define marriage and said they are inviting God's judgment upon the nation. This is another one of those people that if, I guess, a hurricane came.
Save Jesus.
Yeah, if a hurricane came, it was because the gay bar down the road, had iced tea or, Long Island iced tea Sundays or something, and it had one too many people there. But so she gave an article in Forbes, and she said, this is the Grace Slick piece again. She goes, I firmly believe that men should be able to marry men and women women. I am passionately against anyone who would try to suppress this basic human right. And she said, admittedly, it's not millions, but instead of them replacing my song with someone else's and losing this opportunity, she's going to give the money to LGBT orgs. So that's good.
Grace Slick. Jefferson Starship, was that the group? I remember.
It was
Built This City. Was that?
I think by the time they did Built This City, they were just Starship. Guys, is that right? By the time they did Built This City, they were just Starship. They got rid of the Jefferson part.
We're checking, but I
thought
think so.
It was Jefferson Starship, but I'm checking. Yeah.
That song, that one, because of video, because of MTV, that one catapulted them. Like that was one of their big hits.
Yeah, you're right. It's just Starship.
By that time, it was just Starship. Okay.
Now there's I was going to ask you boys about it because I can't find it in Pennsylvania because we're still very puritanical with our morals and our liquor. But we've had a couple of listeners send, and they posted on Facebook about these two beers that are out for spring. Have you seen these? One's Lucky Charms flavored beer.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And one's a Peeps, I think.
Oh.
Which sounds horrible.
But it's not like Lucky Charms has anything to do with it. It's more like these people made beer and they decided it tasted like Lucky Charms.
Right. And so I was going to...
It was like a co-brand.
I think it was Bob Sullivan, one of our listeners. He had posted it and said, you guys need to get this and try it. And I was wondering if you guys had tried it. I was wondering if we could find that somewhere.
I think the Lucky Charms one's in Virginia, and it's only from that one local brewer.
Is that where it was? Okay.
I believe so, yeah.
I'll have to check on it then. And the Peeps one, I was kind of like, ugh. We haven't done Peeps in a while because they don't like us. We're not a traditional family. They don't like us.
They don't like us as our community.
We're not family oriented.
We're not family. We're not traditional.
That's why we've stopped the Peeps testing people. If you wanted to know, some people wanted to know at one time.
I thought we had always explained that. Yeah,
we were always nice about it.
Yeah. We were always nice about it.
We're going to be a sponsor of the show, and then they realized that we talked to...
Actually, that almost happened, and then they're like, well,
we sell our product to families.
And we're like, yeah, we have families. No. Traditional families. Oh, okay.
So I hope your Peeps all rot. Put them in the microwave and blow them up. Did you ever do that?
Yeah, the marshmallow just... you do more harm to your microwave than the Peep because it's all over the place. You got to clean it off. It is exciting to fun. It's fun to watch, believe me, but...
Well, anything else, Mr. Nash, before we say goodbye?
No, except I now have a new mission, right? Even though
I want you to do the Nielsen thing. You have to do it, and you have to report on us, and you should have a meeting with him. Have Steve come to the house.
How long ago did this come?
Oh, what do you mean? It's not new?
It was about a week and a half.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
All right. So, but I put it aside on the counter, and I almost forgot I had it until last night when I was sitting doing the notes, and I flipped this over, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about Nielsen.
That's a good caught your eye.
That's the whole definition of caught your eye.
So thank you, John. Thank you, Garrett. Thanks to all of you for watching us live here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. East. Be sure to also track down our TFG Unbuttoned, which is our podcast, which is released every Tuesday. If you go to focusgroupradio.com, you can find the podcast there, as well as all of our other shows. And, of course, through our YouTube channel, you can watch all of our video representation of our shows and enjoy the past once again. And thank you, John. Thanks to Deep Discount. They have a site-wide sale going on right now, also at focusgroupradio.com. You can click on their logo. I picked the Challenger Disaster. John picked Network, and the release this week was The Favorite. Let us know if you like it.
I liked it. I saw it in the theaters. So, but again, Lauren was like, and she's got great taste. So,
thank you, John. Don't text and drive. Arrive alive, and we'll see you next week.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.